Lair is a game that, even all these years later, comes with an absolutely massive amount of baggage. Developed by Factor 5, the company that made the truly excellent Rogue Squadron series, Lair had a lot of hype leading into its initial release. We were getting a game about riding dragons, destroying massive armies of troops, and fighting tooth and claw with other dragons, all from the same people that had done such an incredible job bringing the world of Star Wars to life. It was really exciting. But like many games that come out within the first year of a new console, its dedication to some of the banner features of the PS3 was a bit excessive. In particular, Lair was extremely dedicated to the PS3's sixaxis motion control scheme. And any discussion of Lair certainly deserves a sidebar about the sixaxis. It's somewhat notorious at this point, but I feel like not everyone may know the whole story. In the PS2 era, Sony got into a spot of legal trouble with a company that had patents for vibration technology and force feedback. When the PS3 launched, this lawsuit was still very much active, and as a result, the very first PS3 controller did not have any sort of rumble. Instead, perhaps in a bid to distract from that missing feature, it got motion controls. And with any gimmicky, unnecessary new feature must come games to try and justify its existence. For a good long while after the system's launch, there were plenty of games that tried to include sixaxis controls, even if it was in an extremely tertiary manner. The rope balancing in the original Uncharted is the perfect example of an unnecessary implementation. But other games strove for something a bit more in-depth, games like Lair, and in theory it makes sense. Factor 5 was extremely well known for flight games, and one of those seemed like the perfect fit for motion controls. Frankly, to just be upfront about it, Lair does a really bad job of selling the sixaxis motion controls. If anything, it might be able to unsell you on them. Tilting your controller every which way and performing repetitive motions in QuickTime events gets really old really quickly. But beyond that, they just aren't accurate enough to actually do what the game demands of you. A relatively early level has you passing through arches on a bridge regularly, something that will result in you slamming into the bridge over and over with motion controls. Thankfully, if you're going back and playing Lair now, the controls have become much less of an issue. With a patch released 8 full months after the game came out, analog control was added as well as the option to add a crosshair, something else that was sorely missing from the original release. But these fixes, while they certainly make the game far less frustrating to play, still don't really make the game very good. And I honestly think that has a lot to do with the fact that we've just seen better from this developer, in particular within the exact same genre. In a lot of ways, Lair feels a whole lot like a Rogue Squadron game, from the way the dragons fly to a lot of the objectives you need to carry out in each mission. The problem, of course, is that when you feel like you're playing a game a lot like Rogue Squadron, you're gonna compare it directly. And Lair just feels bland, brown, and generic compared to the vibrant environments that Factor 5 made for the Rogue Squadron games. Moreover, Lair doesn't feel quite as snappy as Rogue Squadron, and a lot of that has to do with a massive number of performance issues. While on the GameCube, Factor 5 was known for being able to squeeze every last bit of power out of the system, they don't seem to have been able to do the same on the early PS3. The frame rate regularly dips to ridiculous lows in busy scenes, and Lair's obsession with giant battle scenes involving huge armies means that happens a whole hell of a lot, often at the most inopportune times, while the game is simultaneously demanding absolute precision from the player. I will give Lair one thing. It does have some really interesting ideas for its dragon-dominated world, and that world's ideas about technology and religion, but it's buried underneath a plot full of cliches and contrivances, and of course, the rest of the game's problems. It's one of those games I very much would have liked to have a sequel, maybe with more horsepower, some tweaks to the environments, a soft reboot of the story. There could have been something here, but sadly, Factor 5 never got the chance. On retro reviews, I look at games that came out at least 10 years ago, what I would consider to be retro, and I see if they've held up today, if they're still worth playing now. If you like that idea, be sure to subscribe so you can see Lair's videos. If you like this video in particular, be sure to hit that like button, and thanks for watching.